So greetings and welcome back to the Galley of the Sun. So before the age of the brisket, Texas barbecue was all about beef clod. Well, brisket's become very popular and it's about $5.60 a pound here in the Valley of the Sun. But beef clod is $3.56 a pound. So today's question is, beef clod, it is cheaper, but is it better? We will find out. So we're back home and ready to get this prepared. You can see this monster here, 22 pounds. So beef clod, what is it exactly? Well, I'm going to bring in a new member of the Galley of the Sun family to explain it to you. Meet Bessie. So Bessie's going to help us explain this. So the beef clod is the forward part of the chuck primal cut, which is right in this area, right here, just above the shank. Now, brisket comes from right here. The front part of this primal cut, the chuck primal cut, is called the beef clod. From that, that's where you get your flat iron steaks. That's where you get your beef blade roast, which we've used in a couple episodes, and the London broil cut, all encased in this. So this is several different muscles together, much different than the brisket, which is basically just two. As this comes, the side opposite the fat cap, you will notice some silver skin. We're going to take that off. Now, because this is several different muscles, there's going to be a lot of connected tissue in this. So we're going to cook it like a brisket. We normally cook our briskets hot and fast, much like the Myron Mixon method, the winningest man in barbecue. He obviously knows what he's doing. We cook briskets all the time. They always come out amazing. But this is my first beef clod that I'm cooking, so I'm going to go the low and slow approach. Right now, my Yoder YS640 pellet grill is preheating to 220 degrees. This is going to be a good 15, 16 hour cook, so I'm starting the night before. As I said, I'm going to get the silver skin off of this, trim up a little bit of the hard fat, and then the other side, there's a big fat cap. I'm definitely not going to take all of that off. When I see people preparing briskets and they take the entire fat cap off, it just makes me sad because fat is flavor. Now, it is true that the smoke won't penetrate that fat. It is true that your rub's not going to get down to the meat there and that the smoke's not going to get to the meat underneath it. However, to help that along, I'm going to trim some of this off and then I'm going to cross-hatch it so we can get some of that stuff down in there. And right now, my injection and mop for later is cooling behind me. In the pot behind me, I got 2 quarts of water. In that, I have a tablespoon and a teaspoon of each of these, the Miner's beef base and Miner's au jus. And then I added about a 1/4 cup of some Wagyu beef tallow. Once that cools down, we're going to inject this, and then as it cooks every 2 hours, I'm going to go out there with my handy dandy mop, and I'm going to mop some of that on there to keep it nice and moist. I said it, moist. Let's get that silver skin off. Hopefully you have a good idea how to do this, but you get yourself a good sharp knife, you get up under a corner of the silver skin, get your knife in there, and then pull that silver skin as you just gently saw back and forth to minimize the amount of meat you're losing. So I'm going to do quite a bit of cleaning up on this. I'm not going to take you through this whole thing. It's the same method over and over again to get the silver skin off, and we'll see you once I'm ready to inject. Got it all cleaned up. So fat cap side, you can see here, took most of that fat off, but left some on there. And then on the other side, got rid of the silver skin. So now, it's time to inject. If you do smoke meat at any regular frequency, you definitely want to invest in a good injector. Now, just because it's a good injector doesn't mean you're going to get it all over the place. In fact, we're going to get Bessie moved aside here so she doesn't get injection on her because she's not ready for it. Alrighty, in about every inch or so, I'm going to poke this and get her injected. Definitely you want to do this in a pan. You don't want it, you want to do it with a shirt that doesn't stain, because you're bound to get some of this around. Now, some of it's going to run out. That's just okay. Enough will stay in there to do its job. All right, so the injecting's all done. Now we're going to hit it with the rub right before we get it onto the grill. I'm going to use some Cattleman's Grill Smoky Chipotle for the first layer. And this is a big hunk of meat, so you can use a good amount of seasoning. And I'm going to follow that up with some Killer Bees Texas Brisket Rub. All right, I'm going to hit the other side, and we're going to get this out on the smoker. So every 2 hours, I'm going to go hit it with the mop and this juice that we injected it with. We'll get one of those filmed for the morning when it's light again. And then it's just a lot of waiting. And then we have one more step before we'll pull it off the smoker, and we'll get to that when it happens. So we'll see you then. Well, we are about 13 hours into the cook. Let's take a look. And our Clod is starting to look amazing. I checked the internal temperature. It's about 150, 152. So we are approaching the stall. Once we hit that stall, which I expect at about 160 degrees, we will get this wrapped like we typically do with our brisket. But since we haven't hit that stall yet, we got time for another mopping. Once again, this is the same stuff that we injected it with, the au jus, the beef base, and the Wagyu beef tallow. All right, we'll see you again when it's time to pull this and get it wrapped. So 15 hours in the cook, we've hit the stall. Now it's time to go grab that beef Clod, bring it in, and get it wrapped. Hold on. Okay, beef Clod in. Now let's get it wrapped. I got 2 pieces of butcher paper here. On the inside of that, I'm going to line it with the Wagyu beef tallow. You can get this stuff from Amazon. It is pure gold. And if you do briskets, beef Clod, heck, hamburgers even for the griddle, this is a fantastic thing to get down on your griddle to keep your burgers from sticking. This stuff is absolute gold. Just getting a thin layer of this. All right, so now the beef Clod goes in. And do a little eyeball in here. I want to make sure that I have the beef tallow all the way around this. So we'll get some more over here, some more on the sides. So when we fold it up, it's all covered. All right, now we wrap it as tightly as we can get it. Okay, got that good and tight. Now this side is going to go down in the smoker. I've bumped the temperature up to about 300 degrees because now we just need to finish it. It's not going to get any more smoke. We're looking for an internal temperature around 180, 185. So next time you'll see us, we'll be bringing it in at that temperature. All right, so after 18 hours of smoking and then an hour and a half of resting, it's time to find out. We already know that the beef Clod is cheaper than brisket. Is it as good as brisket? So we're going to get this thing carved up, and then we'll get some judges in here and determine whether it is or not. Typically, this section right here, the point, if you will, if you're likening it to a brisket, is going to be our shredded beef portion. So let's take a look. Yeah, I think it hits the shredded beef category. Coming apart just very, very easy. Yeah, it has the same consistency as pulled pork would. Hopefully you'll be able to see better on the slices, but yeah, perfect smoke ring. Beautiful smoke ring on this. All right, now we're to the portion with the slices. And yeah, you can see that smoke ring right there. It feels very tender. I have enough here to try. So let me pull some judges in here, and they can tell you, all these people have been over to our house many a time having brisket. So they can tell you, is this as good as the brisket? So we got our judges, Gabby and Stoll. The slices they're going to try first. How is that compared to our normal brisket?
Phenomenal. Really, really good.
Is it better than the brisket, or is it...
I think it's better. It's juicier.
It's juicier and it's falling apart faster than the brisket does.
That's interesting because the brisket does have more intermuscular fat, but hey, great. Okay, try some of the pulled beef there, which we don't normally get with our brisket.
Mike, I'm going to kiss you.
Oh, it's so good.
There we go. So, $2 a pound cheaper, and according to the judges here, and both have very high moral characters, so you can trust them, it's better than brisket. So you ought to give this a try. Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. Until we see you next time, fair winds and following seas. No, I haven't had a piece myself yet. Mm-hmm. Wow. It is good.